if the halving number is 100, if that's the target, and then we back up from that, we say, all right, well, where are we today? We're at, 23,000. Where should we get by the time the halving occurs? Could we be back to 50, 60,000? That's a pretty good guess. Then as we approach the halving, we start to accelerate into the target, and then we parabolic past it. The fair value is 100K per Bitcoin. How close we stay to fair value is the question. Do I think we get there by the end of this year? Probably not, but could be surprised.
The founder and CEO of Morgan Creek Capital Management, Mark Yusko, predicts a start to the crypto summer bull run in Q2 2023. In this video, Mark Yusko points out that the crypto summer would likely kick off in the second quarter of this year. He referred to the current interest rate regime of America and its ability to tilt the pivot of Bitcoin growth onto a positive trajectory. According to Yusko, the halving is a 4-year event in the Bitcoin lifestyle, and the next halving will take place in the second quarter of next year based on past performance. The market always expects the halving 9 months before that, which is often when summer begins. On Jan 13th, China's central bank, the People's Bank of China, PBOC, was expected to at least maintain the current level of liquidity in the banking system through its management of medium-term policy loans. This means that the PBOC would also keep borrowing costs unchanged for the 5th consecutive month. According to Mark Yusko, this leads to increased production and liquidity as China tries to recover its economy after the zero-COVID policy. And since China drives liquidity for the global market, it also serves as a bullish sign for Bitcoin and crypto assets. While the United States Federal Reserve is unlikely to cut interest rates anytime soon, according to Yusko, the markets tend to anticipate the Fed's move well. That means even a slowing down or pause in interest rate hikes would be interpreted as a signal for the imminent pivot. That would spark a positive dynamic across all risk assets, including crypto. We will now get into the video, where Mark Yusko will be discussing the current state of the Bitcoin market, what factors are driving the price of Bitcoin, and why we saw a bullish price action in January. What does the Federal Reserve's stance on interest rates mean for the future of Bitcoin? And most importantly, the Mark provides advice on how to prepare for the next parabolic bull run in the Bitcoin market. Join us as we explore these questions and more, with Mark Yusko providing insights and analysis. So sit back, hit the like button, subscribe, and enjoy the video.
It was a horrific market, right? Bonds had a horrific market, stocks had a horrific market, crypto had a horrific market. Everything was negative. And what happens when everything's negative, people start selling for tax purposes towards the end of the year. Then what happens is you have to wait 30 days for wash sale rules, and then you can buy these things back. And so what happens, it used to happen all the time, Giovanni, in January. So everyone would do their tax loss selling in December. They'd wait their 30 days. And sometime in January, they would buy these assets back, and you'd get this big move in the things that had done the worst the year before. What I'm trying to say is big short squeeze, hugely overbought, hugely overbought. Bitcoin's as overbought as I've ever seen it. That is not a condition to start a long-term bull run, right? That's a condition for short-term weakness and kind of a retracement, and then the start. But the pattern we need to look for, and we talked a little bit about this last time, is even though there's chop in spring, what you're looking for is a series of higher lows. Now, you like higher highs too, but that's not as important as higher lows. If you keep making higher lows, that means there's accumulation pressure in the market. And I think, we're going to be range bound in this, call it 20 to 24 range for a while. Then we'll be closer to that summer period. And I think that's just time, place, and events, April-ish. And again, seasonally, Q2 and Q4 are the most positive for Bitcoin. So it's setting up to have a pretty nice move April, May, June this year. The Fed clearly is not loosening, right? They're not tightening as quickly, but they're still doing QT. They're still shrinking their balance sheet, and they're still raising rates. But the PBOC has unleashed a huge wave of liquidity. I mean, they are flooding their market, and Chinese stocks are up a ton. Chinese markets are rallying. Economic activity is surging, and China drives liquidity around the world. So used car prices are now plummeting because there's more cars coming in, China's reopening, all that good stuff. So I think by the end of this year, CPI is going to be close to, it could be zero, it could be negative month over month, quarter over quarter. But, trailing numbers probably around 2%. That's not a situation where you need to be tightening. There will be a tailwind, I think, for digital assets. The market is saying by the middle of this year, the Fed's going to be cutting. Now, I think that's too aggressive. I don't think that's going to happen. It's possible, certainly possible, but I don't think it's going to happen. What I do think is very likely, is the Fed signaling we're good, but that will be interpreted as we're going to cut, and then risk assets will explode again. The last phase of the bear market is the toughest part. My belief is we start out of that cycle a little bit earlier. I think the market always anticipates the halving. So if the halving is, maybe you're right, maybe it is March, April, but sometime in that Q1-ish zone of 2024, 9 months before that is usually when the beginnings of summer start to, the crocuses start to pop and the buds are. This year, there's not going to be a lot of taxes paid because last year was so crappy. So I think there's not going to be a lot of downside pressure in March, April this year. So my guess is we'll probably start earlier rather than later. We'll probably have an early summer as opposed to a late summer, would be my guess.
Mark Yusko advises young investors to start building their crypto portfolio by gradually accumulating over time. He suggests starting with a core position in Bitcoin and diversifying into other assets. He notes that smaller assets may outperform in bull markets and encourages young investors to make informed decisions based on research. He emphasizes the importance of regularly reviewing and adjusting the portfolio as needed. Furthermore, he lists some small assets he is bullish on and may make for good portfolio diversification, which you would see now in the video.
Don't wait. Buy. Buy some today. Buy some tomorrow. Buy some the next day. Buy some next week. Buy some next month. Don't buy it all at once. Pick a number, right? I say, 3 to 5%, whatever the number is. If you're younger, that number can be higher. I'm talking a 3 to 5% core position in Bitcoin, higher if you're younger. That's what I'm talking about. Now, beyond that, you want to invest in Ethereum as a platform that builds out the infrastructure around the digital future. Great. Law of small numbers says Ethereum will outperform, right? It's a smaller asset base. If there's a bull market, it will likely outperform. And history tells us the smaller market cap assets outperform in bull markets. So if you want to own a core asset forever, accumulate Bitcoin. If you want to have a portfolio of other technology investments that you think have a higher upside potential, own some other things. Own Ethereum, own Avalanche, own Polkadot, own Cosmos.
Yusko's latest predictions on the bullish outlook for Bitcoin re-echoes previous and similar predictions from other crypto heavyweights. On February 16, 2022, Bloomberg's analysts identified a strong bullish pattern that indicates a high likelihood of a rapid Bitcoin price increase. Michael Van de Poppy, on December 27, 2022, on a YouTube strategy session predicted a massive bullish trend for Bitcoin. He justified his position by referring to a Glassnode report that revealed significant cash flows between centralized and decentralized exchanges. Generally, there are so many speculations about the trajectory the market is going to follow moving on, and the fact that the market movement depends on so many factors also makes it harder to predict with accuracy which of the trajectories would be more possible. However, Mark Yusko and other Bitcoin maxis believe that this would be the year for Bitcoin, and they have their convictions. What do you think of this latest prediction by Mark Yusko? Let us know your opinions and personal predictions in the comment section below. Please ensure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. Thanks for watching.